All right, welcome to podcast number 2 for Savage Factor. In the first podcast, we kind of explained what our goal was for Savage Factor, what helped us find Savage Factor, and then we talked about our elevator pitch of doing the hard thing. And I think one thing stays true no matter who we talk to is that is what we want to stay with for a staple is whether it's we like the idea of the everyday person doing the hard thing because that is who we believe in. That's who we are hoping to help motivate is the everyday person that wants to go through the struggles to make themselves better. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think when you look at, if you believe at the end of the day that this country is struggling, which political views aside, there's some issues here. And I think a lot of it starts...
Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, we have some problems.
Yeah. Whether you like Trump and Elon, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, when you get down to the everyday people, they're struggling. Arguably, they don't know who to go to. They don't know how to share their story. They don't have anybody holding them accountable. They're going to work, showing up, existing. At the end of the day, hopefully wondering how they can make a change in their lives. And
yeah, we want to be here to have them share that and help guide them. One of the things we talked about, and Nick and I breezed upon it during the first podcast was, so on January 5th, I think it was, I was just playing a pickup game of basketball.
Even something cool.
Sunday morning, get a nice little workout in, and 20 minutes in, went to go down the court, and boom, felt a feeling that I had never felt before, but didn't need to feel it before to know what it was. And that was the fact that I ruptured my Achilles. Luckily, it was on my left foot, so I actually left the gym, drove myself home. I called Nick because I wanted somebody to talk me through the ride home because I had 1,000 things racing through my mind. Obviously, we both talked about it. We are, we work for ourselves. We're entrepreneurs, and a lot of my job is my feet, and being able to work fast and efficiently. And of course, when everything happened, the instant thought in my head is, I'm screwed, my family's screwed. But I tried to block all that out. Went to the hospital. They did absolutely nothing for me besides direct me to a very good orthopedic, and went there Monday morning just to be told that I did indeed fully rupture my Achilles and needed to go for surgery. So
let's back up to
the person I am.
I was at the gym, and he called me, didn't answer, called me again. I answered.
We needed somebody to talk to.
He's like, I need someone to talk to about this. And I'm like, and you had just gotten your new truck. And I literally thought you would call me.
Literally 2 days before, I went out and bought a new truck. And he's like,
put the engine in your truck, messing around, being foolish, which is unlike you, in a vehicle. But that's what I thought you were going to tell me. And then you dug into it. And I think I was just like, oh, dude, you're going to be fine.
Oh, yes.
It's not a big deal. I'm sure it's not fully ripped.
Everyone's... So it was basically open gym with a bunch of grown men. And right after it happened, I stood up and I knew what had happened. And a couple of the guys, go take a break, set it off, you'll be back. And I'm like, no. I completely ruptured my Achilles. And they're like, no, you'd be in a lot of pain. Unbeknownst to them, I was in a fair amount of pain. And then, like I said, I got in the truck. Just started driving myself home, and I'm like, I cannot just sit here with my thoughts. I need to talk to somebody, at least talk it out. And the best thing they could do in the moment was exactly what he did.
You're fine.
No, you're fine. It's not a full rupture. You'll be good. And, up until, I would say, I held on to the hope of that all the way through the ride to the hospital.
Like, dude, I can't wobble my foot up and down.
I held... I got to the hospital, and for whatever reason, the ER doctor would not diagnose it as a ripped Achilles. So in my mind, that meant maybe there's a chance we didn't rip it. And as I'm sitting there in the ER room, and I'm trying to tell myself two things. I'm trying to tell myself that what I'm trying to tell myself isn't accurate, and that I really knew what the problem was. And then I'm trying to tell myself it will be okay. And this nice nurse came in and told me, for whatever reason, the doctor wouldn't say it, but she had looked at the x-ray and I had indeed fully ripped my Achilles.
It's fine.
And it's going to be okay. And so then, like you said, my wife is in the ER with me. And okay, so next plan is we go to the walk-in on Monday morning. So go to the walk-in, we're the first people there. Great orthopedic place, and I was in there 5 minutes, and they said, "Yep, full tear. We'll be right back." And they walked out, came back in. "Yep, doctor's got an opening on Thursday to do surgery. You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess let's start. Let's start putting this in behind us." So, I mean, what does somebody do after that?
Go to work.
Yeah, we go to work.
Go to work.
So I took my wife and started heading towards work and stopped and got her a coffee. And about that time, she started looking around and said, "Where exactly are we going?" And I said, "Well, we got to go pack out because what else we got to do? We don't have to be back here till 2."
Well, you have a chip route for a local.
Yes,
are they local
yeah.
or are they national?
National. So I own my own chip route. So I own a territory where I distribute potato chips, pretzels, cookies, crackers, that kind of stuff. And for me, it's been a great opportunity for me to basically, I want to work as hard as I want to do. I want to push as hard as I can. I want to grow sales. And, since day one, I've basically grown my route, over and over and over. And it's with the mentality of more is more and, get after it. And I left a retail job that I had done for, 9 years. I left 4 weeks, 5 weeks vacations and went to work for myself. And it was one of the best things I ever could have done.
But opens up the opportunity for something
But
like this.
if you get hurt at work, then you're on disability or you're, short-term disability. And, fortunately, but unfortunately, in my circumstances, it's either you pay somebody to work for you or do it. And, quite frankly, it doesn't matter because for me, all I would be doing at home is sitting there with my thoughts. Because for the first 4 weeks, I couldn't do anything. So the best thing for me to do is put my mind at ease and do what I do best and go to work. So, fast forward, obviously Thursday comes. I've never had major surgery in my life and go in and, I'll be frank with anybody. I mean, I was nervous. They talk about putting you under and it's like, oh, I've never had any of that done. And then you're in there and the more you talk to these people, it's what they do every day. You know what I mean? And that was the big thing that put my mind at ease is the guy that's giving me the anesthesia is talking about how the fact he just got done doing 3 more. He's got 5 more in the day. And I'm like, I'm going to be fine. So had surgery. And if you've never ruptured your Achilles, basically from the time that you realize when it happens, they set your foot in a toe low position to take the slack off the Achilles. And then you don't move it. You're immobilized. So I remember literally thinking, because I did it on Sunday, surgery was Thursday, and I was, taking a shower Thursday morning before surgery, and I remember thinking, once I took the splint off and I took a shower, I'm like, I bet it's not even that bad, because it doesn't feel that bad. Like, there's no real pain. I bet he's going to get in there, he's going to open it up and be like, it really wasn't that bad. And so I go do my surgery, I come out of surgery, and the doctor comes by, and I said, "It wasn't that bad, was it?" And he said, "No, wrong, it was pretty bad. It went way up in there.
Yeah,
I had to get it."
Oh, that freaks me out. It's just hanging out in the calf.
And so, and then that's, to me, Thursday came, and I had already started the mindset of, it's done, now we need to start getting better. And really, the day that I came out of surgery, that's when the clock's ticking to get better. Obviously, I made a post on our Instagram that I have big plans for this summer. And I shared those plans with my doctor, and he didn't say that they weren't possible, but he also didn't tell me that they were possible. And basically, what I've gathered through this whole process is you get out what you put in, and how hard I want to work to a point is going to influence when I'll be able to get back.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole process, it's I was just telling Nick as we rode over here that this week alone has been extremely tough for me in the sense that through the healing process, there's 4 weeks that you can't do anything. And there's 4 weeks you're immobilized, can't put any weight on it. And then after those 4 weeks, you're in a walking boot. And for me, it was, I don't know, 4 or 5 days after being in a walking boot, I could walk with crutches. And then I could walk with one crutch. And then by the end of the week, I was walking with no crutches. And I mean, you strap a boot on me, I could overdo it with the best of them. I got around like there was no issues.
Hobbling around in
Yeah, jumping in and out of my box truck. I say use the word jumping very loosely. I mean, stepping up into my box truck, but there was no limitations. And it was a roller coaster. So I got through that point, and just last week I was cleared to take the boot off and be in a shoe, which, in your mind is like a total win. I'm like,
you know what to do.
Time to put on a shoe. Yeah. And I remember being at PT, and I was sitting there at physical therapy, and she says, "All right, let's put a shoe on." And I put it on, and it's not what you would think it would feel like. I kind of went into it thinking my foot would just recognize this is a shoe and rock and roll, and that was not the case. You watch the videos of the baby deer, like with the legs spread, and the shaky legs. Yeah, it was something like that. So, rewind to that. That was Thursday of last week, and this is Wednesday night. It has been the most frustrating to know that I physically can do something, but also physically can't do it.
But I think that's the lesson to carry forward that gives you the ability to share with others. Like, whenever you're doing anything hard, you get used to it, you think you got it, and then boom.
Absolutely.
It gets messed up again, like the shoe, you thought that was a big win. You're in the shoe, not what you thought.
Right.
You're going backwards.
Well, and it goes back to like when we talked about our entry to ultras. They're a lot like the same way. 1 minute you're in a groove and everything's going good. You stop, you get something to eat, and you take off again, and that wasn't the right thing to eat, or
well, beyond that,
you're cramping,
you can train all year, show up for the biggest race of your life with the most work ever put in, and then nothing goes according
as you plan.
You get a scratchy throat, and that throws you off.
Right.
Like you said, you eat too many booze,
right,
and you're in the woods trying to get rid of it. Like that is the lesson behind all this.
Right.
There's no freebies.
So, doing the hard thing. It's called doing the hard thing for a reason. It's not easy. It's it comes with roller coasters, and I will say though, I can't imagine going through this process without having a tough mind. Because I like to think that the way I approach everything is we're tackling it. Driven. We've got the goal in mind. We're going to get through it, and that served me very well. And even through that, I've had little rough times here and there through it. So that goes back to, like we said, is one of the things I thought about, a lot when I left the gym tonight was, again, if you decide to put yourself through the hard thing, you're that much better prepared when you can't choose when the hard thing's going to hit. Yeah. Because, like I said, when I got up Sunday morning to go play basketball, I didn't think my world was going to be turned upside down. You can't choose. You can't choose what life deals you. But if you do the hard thing on your own, whether that's a hard workout, whether that's a long run, whether that's setting your alarm to get up 45 minutes, half hour early before your kids, or like it can be the littlest of things. But if it's challenging for you, then that's what's building the resilience for your life. And I want to say, like, obviously we both agree, it doesn't have to be something major. If it's big for you...
It's so individual. It's...
Right, if it's big for you, the hardest thing you've ever done, and there was this thing that I heard, and it really sticks true when you think about it, is the hardest thing you've ever been through is the hardest thing you've ever been through. Now, it may not match up to the hardest thing I've ever been through, but that doesn't devalue your hard thing. It is the hardest thing you've ever had to go through, and you were able to go through it and conquer it.
Totally random. So I used to stutter as a kid pretty bad, and it's kind of shit. Not so much anymore, but it shaped who I thought I was as an adult. Well, anyways, I was at an event last May and had a bunch of stuff I really wanted to share and ask questions. And there was a lot of people there, 100, 150 people in the room. And I got challenged to get up and share some thoughts or ask questions. I think the challenge was whatever comes out of your mouth, stand up and do that.
And share it with the group.
Right, because I had told myself the hardest thing I could do in that moment was get up in front of all these people because
and say anything.
I was a stutterer. Like,
right.
I'm not a public
You had already decided in your
yeah.
mind.
I decided that years ago.
So you couldn't accomplish something like that.
I had 20 years of identifying this hard thing. And by golly, like, it almost didn't happen. And I just remember standing up, putting up my hand because I had something to say, and standing up. And I don't even remember what came out of my mouth. But it didn't matter because that was no longer the hardest thing that I had. So...
And isn't it funny the weight that's lifted off? Like, like you built for 20 some odd years, you built that as being this impossible thing that you couldn't
and now it's
overcome.
Silly. It was so silly. 5 seconds after, it was like,
why was I so?
That was so silly to build that.
Right, but for anybody to devalue that, like there's people that publicly speak all the time, and they might look at you and go, "What is the?"
Right.
But you overcame something that was gigantic to you.
For sure.
And, you know, we've all had that feeling. You know, when they say shit a brick, like, you're sitting there and everything in your body is saying don't do it, and your hand goes up and the process goes. But then you met that face on, and then all of a sudden right after, it's like you said, oh, well, but you knocked that wall down.
And the only reason I was able to do it is from the accountability from... It was 2 people in particular that held me accountable to that. They're like, you're not leaving without doing that. Granted, they probably would have let me slide, like they weren't holding a gun in my head. But I felt like through that accountability, I needed to do that. So, again, here we are.
Right.
Pitch to us what you need to be held accountable for.
Right. It's funny in a way that, you know, something you want to do so bad, and like you said, I am sure you wanted to overcome that in the worst way.
Yeah, I've had 20 years of stuff I didn't say.
But without that push or that motivation from, I don't want to say motivation, but that nudge from somebody else to tell you, essentially what they're telling you is it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to do it. And if you fell flat on your face or you started, like, it doesn't matter. You're going to overcome it. And you'll realize what they're basically telling you is how silly, you know, it is to let something like that hold you back from sharing all of your thoughts. Exactly. And, you know, it's the same thing as, like Nick said, we're here because a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people, they don't know how to surround themselves with people like that, or they look around and there's nobody helping them level up. And, you know, we talked about it, I believe we talked about it in the first podcast of, you know, you're a product of the people you surround yourself with. Yeah. And, you know, again, it seems like a really silly quote, but you can't fly with the eagles if you're surrounded by turkeys. And, you know, you need to surround yourself with people that help level you up. And people that know where you want to go and know the kind of person you want to be or that you are capable of being, and they don't accept mediocre. Yeah. Because it's easy to surround yourself with people, the yes people, or the people that are like, oh, it's not your fault that it didn't work out, or, you know,
they're giving you excuses as to why.
And those people feel like they're helping you.
Oh yeah, no, they're not.
But they are not helping you at all. They're holding you back. And, you know, as hard as it is to tell that person, you know, you're not doing me any favors. You know, I gotta try to do this. And, you know, like I said, I think we're Nick and I are lucky that, you know, we met each other and you know, over the years
I
and talking.
I had a choice. You married my sister, so I, you know, got kind of forced into this.
So, but over the years we found out that, you know, and we've said it before, not everyone needs to think like we do, and there is people in the world, and the more driven you are, you kind of sit back and go, why can't everybody be that way? Well, everyone can't be that way because that's just not how the world works.
No, and the world wouldn't be functional if everybody was out there chasing these massive things. Like, it needs balance.
Right.
So, let us just help you.
Right.
Let us and share this with someone that you might think could use the help, or be the person that helps them. It doesn't need to be us. We want to build a movement here, so maybe that's you.
Our whole goal is to build a community. And it doesn't have to be you. You might watch, it doesn't have to be you sharing stuff with us. You might watch this and have some takeaways and share them with a friend that's going through a struggle, or share them with a friend that's got goals. But the biggest thing is again, the whole idea of Savage Factor is choosing to do the hard thing, because we firmly believe when you do that, you are building a foundation for greatness.
So now, bust your Achilles.
Yeah, or you rupture your Achilles and change your whole summer plans. But no, if you do that and you surround yourself with people that push you and motivate you, and you decide to do the hard thing, the only thing that comes from that is greatness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that may be you become a better husband, you become a better wife, you become a better dad, you become a better boss,
employee,
you're better at the gym, you're in better shape. To us, they're all lumped together. If you're giving it your all the time, you're giving. If you are giving it your all, you're giving people the best you. And I firmly believe that. I feel like, I told Nick, I was, obviously it's been a tough week. My, bouncing things around in my mind. Went to the gym, had a hard workout, come home, my mind's clear, I feel good, my kids get the best me, my wife gets the best me. And that came from doing something that wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say it was hard for me, but, or uncomfortable in the sense that, I do normally go to the gym, but would have been just as easy to stay home,
Yeah, but that is the message here.
Right.
Set a schedule. Is it 3 days a week? If you're doing nothing, anything is an improvement. If you're going from nothing to 1 day a week, that's how it starts. I remember a couple years ago, I was doing 30-day challenges. I was just making them up as I would go, and one of them was 100 push-ups a day for 30 days. I suck at push-ups. Like, to do 100 in a day, I had to stretch it out over like the entire day.
Right. 15 here, 10 there, 10 there.
But at the end of the month, to look back and to think I did, 3,000 push-ups was huge up here.
Right.
And how that affected how I showed up in all the other areas.
Right.
It was a ripple effect. So don't ever discount a change. If you're not doing it currently and you start doing it, I promise you there's a ripple effect that's going to carry over into other things.
And don't shy away from the things that make you uncomfortable. Yeah. That's where growth happens.
This is a saying, I can't think of it.
Yeah.
If something's uncomfortable, chances are it's a growth point.
Right.
So, i.e., getting up and speaking in front of 150 people. Right. Super uncomfortable. But there's a lot of growth that happened after that. So.
Oh, there's no doubt. And that is the thing is, uncomfortability, you're knocking down walls. And it's that thing, you knock down that wall, and then you find the next one where you're like, I can conquer that. I'll conquer the next thing. Absolutely. I can conquer the next thing.
Well, it's funny, I remember, so at the event I was at, Cody Sanchez was one of the keynote speakers. And if you don't follow her, she's amazing in the business world. If you're going to try to acquire a business, she covers a lot of amazing topics. Anyways, she on the flight back to Portland, Maine, we had a layover in, I think, DC, and she was on that flight. And because of what I had conquered the day before, I actually tried to track her down in the airport.
Right.
Couldn't find her. But
that's something you wouldn't have done before.
I wouldn't have done that 2 days before.
Right.
But I had the confidence to at least try to say hi, try to make that connection.
Right.
Again, I wasn't able to catch up with her. She was in first class. I was way out back.
But that's a win in itself. You might not.
Oh, absolutely.
You didn't meet, and that kind of that goes into another thing I want to talk about is failure, but you tried. So you failed, but you only failed because you tried.
Exactly.
And how many people do we know they don't fail because they don't want to fail, so consequently they're not trying?
Which is worse. I would rather fail
100 times
over and over and get back up and keep failing because you're going to learn so many lessons.
I will try and fail 100 times so that 101 I succeed.
Yep.
Because to your point, not failing means you're setting the bar low for yourself and you're just coasting.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, again, everything that we're talking about, when you look at it, it's all tied together in the sense that if you're trying, you're pushing yourself. And to be afraid of failure, I mean, consequently, I would say, if we go back to the ultras, we set out we were going to do 100 miles last year. We failed.
We truly thought we were going to.
We failed. We fell flat on our face. We failed at our goal of hitting 100 miles. But it was the best failure I ever had.
100%. We're showing up to work harder. We are going to appreciate hitting that 100 so much more deeply than we would have if we just gone up.
It's one of those things where they say, I'm a big time hunter, and we joke about, like, you take a youth kid out, and all of a sudden, kid's never been hunting before, you take him out, you bring him to this spot, monster buck shows up, boom, kid gets it, first one he's ever gotten, that's up here.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime buck for anybody. So now that kid's got this, and everything else from then on is a disappointment.
Yeah.
And if you achieve, I don't want to say greatness, but if you set a lofty goal, and it's truly a hard goal, and it's truly one, like I do think when we set the goal of 100 miles, in my mind there was wonder if it was unachievable, but that didn't scare me from setting the goal, and nor did it you. The more we talked about it, that was what leveled us up because it was so difficult.
Would you say it's the reward in any win is? I think it's the journey.
100%.
So let's say we don't hit it this year, and all of a sudden it's
to your point,
3 years.
Right? If we're 3 years in to hit the 100, think of how sweet that 100 is going to be. I remember when we were at Pineland.
Oh, we saw these big dudes just break down,
and he was literally dropped to his knees because he met that goal. Yeah. And obviously, selfishly, I think we were both a little jealous because, like, we wanted that so badly. But to finish the year and not have hit that goal, it did, like you said, it lit a fire under me to want to be more trained. I wouldn't say we did a lot of running last year, but I think we both said, all right, more weight training, stronger legs, running on fatigue legs. You start dissecting it and going through all the little things that are going to make you better. And to me, that's you just upping the bar. And if you sit there, we went into this race and we could have said the goal is 25 miles.
I've said that for the last year. If we would have gone into this thinking 25 miles, arguably we would have hit 25, but maybe we would have only hit 20.
Right. Would I have hit in the 80s? Yeah. Would you have hit in the high 70s? Yeah. Probably not, because in your mind you've already set the block.
Exactly.
That's where, like we talked about, if it's set high, you're always pushing. If you set it too low, and it's no different than you're at the gym and you're going to do pull-ups, and the goal is to do 10. Okay, you bang out 10. Well, I couldn't do any more.
Yeah.
Well, if the goal was 20, could you have done 20?
Well, it's
more than likely.
I still fall victim to that. I will go out for let's just say a 10-mile run.
Yeah.
Let's just say 10 miles, mile 6, 7, 8, 9. By the time I get to 8.5, 9, I am just done.
Right.
I'm like, there's nothing left. I can't sprint at the end, whatever it is. Next week, I go out for a 15-mile run.
Right.
10's not so bad.
Right.
11, 12, you get to 13, and you're like, oh, I'm so done.
I fell victim to the same thing last year. You know, I would go out for a training run. Now, I would purposely not tell myself how far I was going to go.
Trick yourself.
Because if I told myself we were doing 10, then anything less than 10 is unacceptable. So in my mind, it's like, I don't want to say I'm doing 10, because what if I'm not feeling like doing 10?
Well, I feel like that kind of gives yourself a way out, though. Like,
well, and that's what I'm saying is that nobody is immune from that type of, like, did I know it in the moment? Yeah, 100%. I knew that I was making a conscious decision to not push on purpose. You know what I mean? And did that make me better? No, by no means. But that's what we're saying is, you know, to your point of, if you say you're doing 10 and you hold yourself to doing 10, which I'm a big believer of, if you say it out loud, and what is it? Is it Jesse Itzler that says, you know, if you say it out loud,
you have to say it right. The words that you speak matter. That's
right.
How it says it.
So, you know, quick side note, but you know, we had talked about that, and we were, you know, I think it was the first Pineland 24-hour race. And, you know, we're in the middle of it, and we had talked about that like the day before. You know, like, Nick, do your legs hurt? No, I feel so fresh. And
you tired? No.
I am not tired. Meet my friend Nick. He is not tired either.
There is so much truth to that, though. The words that you speak matter.
They do.
I mean, we could do a whole podcast on just manifestation and speaking positively.
100%.
Like that's a whole.
What you put out there, what you put out into the universe, or you put out into your mind, it does matter. And to me, if you're alone, you know, I spend a lot of time alone in my box truck, and they don't have to be words said out loud. But if I'm saying them in my mind and they're negative, I'm setting myself up for negativity and having a negative day.
If you wouldn't, I mean, you arguably aren't a jerk to other people.
No.
Why would you speak to yourself in a way that you don't speak to other people? You know, I know a lot of people.
Right.
Their self-talk is so
awful.
Horrible.
Awful.
It's like you never talk to anybody else that way. So why would you talk to yourself that way?
Right.
You're sabotaging yourself. You're not even giving yourself a shot.
Right.
So, yeah,
But it is. But the words you speak, and again, if you're by yourself and you're working alone, them internal thoughts they're allowed to you. Yeah. And, you know, the words you speak and the things that you say, you know, if you tell yourself,
I'm pretty.
You know,
I'm pretty.
Well, no, especially like with my injury, you tell you I'm never getting better. I'm never gonna walk right again. Or you believe in those things that you're saying, then that's gonna hinder your performance to get better.
I just told you that the other day. You're like, it's gonna rip again. I just watched this podcast or whatever, a Facebook post. It's gonna rip again, and I'm like, dude.
I suggest if you're going through this, as friendly as the Ruptured Achilles Facebook page is, don't follow it. Because there is many things on there that will make you hang your head.
That's like the Google doctor.
I had just read this post about this guy that had a pristine recovery, and at 5.5 months, boom. Tore it again. But what you don't know is what he was doing, how his rehab was, and all of that stuff. So you can't let those thoughts get into your head. And it's, you know, I will say going through this process, it is a lot easier said than done, especially when your back's against the wall. And, you know, it'd be very easy for your mind to go to a dark place. But again, if you do the hard thing and you train your mind to handle it, you're much better equipped to deal with it.
And there's some days that you just need a voice to shake you out of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you can do all the hard things you want, but sometimes you just need Another voice in the ear.
Oh,
and that's
absolutely.
fine. That is perfectly fine.
Yep. Well, and, the brain is a muscle. You don't get to the point that we're talking about, and that where we are actively still working to get there. You don't get to that point without repetitively doing it over and over and over again. So there are times it's like strengthening your legs or strengthening your arms. You know, there's times where you need a coach. There's times where you need to bounce ideas off other people. Your mind is a muscle that you need to train. And if you are somebody who sits there right now as you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'm that person. I'm the person that's like, he wakes up and I'm like, oh, everything's going to go bad today. Oh, the creamer's expired. Oh, what a great way to start my day. Or something like that manner. If you're sitting there, now's your time to start training your mind to think differently and start approaching it differently, because the little things that you start your day with shouldn't affect your whole day. And the more that you make your brain able to look at those things and go, nah, no biggie. And sometimes it's going through hard things. You know, we'll go back to your speech thing. It took going through that really hard thing for you to be like, it's not that big of a deal.
No big deal.
So, you know, and a lot of people say, you know, to that thing, like, you know, people lose a family member and it takes that for the family to grow closer. Well, try to, you know, with your mind, try to recognize where your you know, your bad thoughts and things like that, and try to change it before you go too far down the rabbit hole of, you know, you manifest all these bad things into your life because you're just approaching it in a negative manner.
Yeah. So why don't we close this up with just, you know, I think we always mention that we want to hear what you guys are wanting in your life, struggling with. Like, I think we always wrap up with that, remind everybody. Tag us, message us, whatever it takes.
Yeah, we'd love to start, you know, start seeing some engagement on Instagram or Facebook. You know, just, tag us in your hard thing. You know, I know we have a friend, Eric, down in Houston,
yeah.
And, you know, he shared a couple of videos on Instagram of, you know, doing what is hard for him. And, you know, the more that we can get that, we'll start building this community of people doing hard things. And you might not relate to Eric's weightlifting or to our running. Share your thing, because I'm sure there's somebody out there that can relate to your thing. And that's how we'll build a community of people that can relate to doing the hard thing. And
the hardest thing for some people is literally getting out of bed.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing in their day. So let's create a plan of action. Like, reach out. We want to help. Maybe it's you wake up and it's hard because you're sore and you're achy. All right, what does that plan of action look like? Maybe it's none of that and you just wake up sad. Maybe it's, you know, your kids are waking you up too early and then you just got to incorporate something to help make that more enjoyable. Whatever it is, like, chances are that there's a fix for it. So
not only that, but feel free, you know, to share whether it's in a private message or, you know, share your story with us. And, you know, if you feel like your story needs to be heard, you need to get it out there to help other people. You know, our goal for this is to eventually, you know, we'll bring on other people with inspiring stories and let them get that out there and let them share that. You know, sometimes it could be Nick and I just going back and forth. And then, you know, other times our goal is to have on people that have done the hard thing, have faced the hard thing, and so you can hear it from them firsthand, and it's not just Nick and I. You know, we know of a couple people already that, you know, we'd like to reach out to and get on here. But again, we want to close it out with, you know, share with us what your hard thing is. And don't be afraid, because your hard thing that you're doing is the hardest thing you've had to do. So don't compare it to other people's hard things.
And if you can, it qualifies you to help somebody else. So if you truly, it's hard for you, and you can put some work into it, you can help someone else avoid perceivably the struggle you've been through. So
absolutely. So,
all right, sir.
on that note, we'll sign off. We'll see you guys again soon.